Well, hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valerie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, and today this is a sped up version of our last live show. I accidentally deleted it and messed it up, so hopefully this will help. And right now we are looking at the basswood. It is 4 different boards, which means it's not going to burn evenly between the boards. So you really have to decide what kind of project you want on it. And we're also going to be using the Walnut Hollow. I haven't used a burner like this in 11 years, so there was a bit of bumbling and fumbling, but let's get started. This video, it really is starting from the very beginning, and the next section I am going to start drawing my pattern on a printout that I have picked. And as you can see, it's a giant sunflower with a bigger sunflower in the background. I'm trimming the edge of the pattern so I have the least amount of paper in between me and the board. It makes it easier when you're trying to press through either with graphite or transfer paper to keep from pushing in lines on the board. And here I'm about to make a big mistake. It was funny during the actual live, and just so you can join us, live is every Wednesday at 10:30. And what happened was I did not pay attention at all, and I was outlining my pattern with the wood underneath, and the Sharpie bled through. It wasn't too bad. I quickly sanded it with 220 and 320 and 400 just to smooth out the wood again, and did not remove a whole lot of the Sharpie, but the center of the sunflower will be positioned there, so when I burn over it you won't see it. And here I am just picking out the information that is most important for me to get an accurate burning of the picture. I do not have to put every single line in, and you don't even have to go over it with Sharpie. I just did that so that it was easier for everyone to see. But you could skip this step if you're comfortable with your drawing. And in doing this, this is one of 3 times I will be drawing the sunflower. I will draw it for the pattern, and then in the next step I will draw it again in transferring, and then when I go to burn it, I'm drawing it for a 3rd time, and by that time my brain has figured out really what I want in the piece. And as you can see, I'm going off of the photo because it is not as big as my board. That is what the oval outline is. It pretty much is telling me where, somewhat, I was a little off in my measurements, but pretty much telling me where the edge of the board is, so I know how far to go out. And here as you can see, the Sharpie is coming through, and I'm laying graphite. I should have laid the graphite darker. I could have gone with a 4B instead of a 2B. But I'm just showing that if you don't have transfer paper, you can still get your pattern onto your wood or your canvas, whatever pattern you're trying to do in whatever medium. You don't have to have transfer paper. It does make things easier, and when I go to transfer, I do switch over. But if you also notice, I'm not laying graphite on the whole piece of paper. I'm just laying it where my lines are, because that'll make a bigger mess when I tape it down to the board. And this way I'm also, saving a little bit of graphite, only hitting the areas that I really need to transfer. And again, even with the shadows, I don't have all of that outlined. I don't need it all outlined because while I'm burning, I will be looking at my photo. And here I've got, when I'm transferring, I've got a board under my hand so that as I'm moving my hand across the paper, I'm not laying down extra graphite. And there you saw that my lines weren't very dark because of the graphite I used. So I went ahead and pulled out my transfer paper. I just wanted to hurry up and get this done. If you were with us with the live, you saw that for, an almost an hour and 20 minutes of the live, I was just working on my pattern. I really didn't get too much into the burning, and that's because it does take time, and you have to give yourself that time. Don't get upset if something takes you a little bit longer than you expected, because that's just how things go. I had a bunch of fumbles with this live, the Sharpie going through the paper, and that was not planned. That was a complete oops on my part, and they just happen. So give yourself a break. It's okay, and things will work out in the end. But again, I'm not transferring every single line on the photo, just what I've outlined. I know some artists do it, and you see it in the videos where they shade in where their shadows are going to be. I don't do that. If it makes it easier for you, that's fine. I don't do that because that means I'm burning the graphite into the board, and for me, I don't want to do that because any kind of remnants of graphite can show through. So now I'm picking my tips. This took a little while because, again, I have not worked with this Walnut Hollow, and I haven't worked with a burner similar to it in 11 years. So I had to get my bearings, and I should have practiced with the tips to figure out what I wanted and the heat setting, but I really wanted to convey to a new burner, grabbing that wood and in the Walnut Hollow and just diving in, and there's going to be a little bit of adjustment. And so this is the shader tip. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that I was really close to the edge of the camera during the live. I did not like this tip. I couldn't get an angle that I liked. If you noticed, I'm not working on my normal easel. I used 2 door stops to prop up the board so that the heat wasn't being radiated directly on my fingers. And so the angle is really hard for me to adjust, and I did the whole, do as I say, not as I do. Because we were live, switching out the tip while the pin was still hot. You really shouldn't do that. You can break the brass tip off into your burner and never retrieve it. And so that's another $15 if you used a coupon to get a new one. And I would also put graphite spray on the threads of the brass tip so that it doesn't oxidize and it's easier to take out of the pin and put a new one in. Here I'm using the writer tip, the nib. This was my 3rd tip. I cut out the 2nd tip because I didn't use it but for maybe 30 seconds, and it just wasn't worth keeping in the video. And you can see I'm using my reference photo right next to me so I can pay attention to where the darks are. I will finish this burning, hopefully, fingers crossed, next Wednesday's live at 10:30. And I will probably stick with this tip. If I remember right, this is the tip that I used when I first started burning, and it's the one I'm the most comfortable with. And I'm going to give Walnut Hollow another chance. I'm so spoiled with my professional burners that I wasn't too happy with what I was getting here. But again, it would be like a new burner, just a person just picking up the burner and having never burned. So I'm going to cut myself a little slack with this one. I did fix the audio for our lives next week, so that won't be an issue anymore. Yay! It was user error this time, and I do apologize. I do hope that doing the sped up version with the voiceover helps anybody who's new to burning. Please make sure to leave any of your comments or questions down in the comment section. I do get back to everybody and try to answer with the answers I know work best for me. And with that, we are looking at just the final picture of what we're hoping this burning will turn out. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new here, and hit the like button down below. And again, leave me any kind of comments, looking for help or just to say hi. Happy burning, guys. Bye.